to you once again from the Danger Zone. I am sitting with the CEO, RBK. How you doing, RBK?
Doing so-so.
So-so? What's up?
Just really angry right now.
I can
really
tell.
Really angry with Tony Taylor.
Everything that's been going on with Tony Taylor, the Capitalist, the group that's coming up, Gold Rush. I mean, you got big things happening at Gold Rush. A couple weeks ago, you dropped the bombshell of Mark Reconcile being your third man at Gold Rush. What made you come to that decision?
What made me come to that decision is I saw the way that he turned on Lethal. Boy, am I glad that he did it. Because he's somebody I don't want to mess with. Whatever his reasons for turning on Lethal is, I don't know, but I can tell you this much. He told me he hates the capitalists. And that's all I need to know. That's good enough for me right now.
All right, so tell me, the capitalists have all the gold, all right? What do you plan on doing that? Because pretty much the power is torn between three people. There's you, Greg Knight, who you made the commissioner, and Tony Man Taylor. And as far as I know, as long as Greg Knight is the commissioner and Tony Man Taylor is, what is his official title again?
He is the Director of Wrestling Operations.
Yeah, as long as it's torn between, pretty much 2-on-1, I don't see those titles changing hands any soon. What do you plan on doing about that?
Well, you know what? Let's look at it this way. You got Night Terror, who's dealing with his own group, and of course the Chi-Town Legend has a beef with the entity because of what happened to him when Enigma picked him up and carried him out. You know what I'm saying? So, that actually works in my favor. If Night Terror and the Chi-Town Legend want to deal with the entity, they can go right ahead. I've got my hands full with the capitalists, and I need to deal with them once again. I've dealt with them before. I beat them. I'll beat them again.
Speaking of the entity, 2 weeks ago, we saw Night Terror come back and level the playing field pretty much against the entire entity, taking out Greg Knight, not one, but two Slipknots. Did you expect this? Did you know he was coming out now or then, or what is your feelings about Night Terror coming back and evidently wanting to take out his creation, the entity?
Well, why else would he want to take him out? All I gotta say is that it worked in my favor, right? And I said it earlier. Night Terror, he started the Dark Entity just to show dominance, just to show how dominant he was and how dominant he could be in the CWA, and obviously he crossed the line, which I didn't like. But you know what? Now that he's back and wanting to deal with his own group, including Commissioner Greg Knight, after being kicked out, yeah, I can understand how pissed off he is. He made that group, he started that group, and you know what? He's pissed off, making a statement. He's saying kicking me out of what I started? I don't think so.
So, what are your predictions between that match at Gold Rush, Greg Knight and Night Terror?
You know what my predictions are? Night Terror is gonna beat the living daylights out of him.
I don't know. Greg Knight has been through some brutal matches. I think he just caught him off guard, but that's completely speculation. All right, so let's go back to the Capitalist. You are having one hell of a problem with the Capitalist, led by, this time, Tony the Man Taylor, not Michael Andrews. So, is it the same Capitalist? I mean, can you really use the same game plan against them that you used when Michael Andrews ran them?
Probably not the same game plan, but they're sure the same capitalists. Win any way they can, numbers game. But of course, let me tell you something about Tony the Man Taylor, alright? I do have a huge history with that man. You know what? He is a mastermind. He is a master manipulator. He will promise you things, all this and all that, but the problem is he screws people over who can't perform what they're supposed to perform for him, and he only takes the selective, talented guys. He's very selective. He will promote whomever he thinks in his mind is a good champion. And you know what? All the people he's promoted are frickin' cheaters, scumbuckets, lowlifes. And you know what? I'm getting sick of it. And you know what? I just come to thinking. That's the whole reason I think the capitalists were started in the first place. But that's just my opinion. You see, I know Andrews, I know Lethal, I know Tony Taylor, heck, I even know Darren Stryker, and he's not here now, Buzz. All those guys I wrestled with back in the day. Oh, one more, Ezekiel Cranston. Yeah, I wrestled with all those guys back in the day. So, not only are they out to stop me and whatnot, you know, take away my power, my job, and end my career, which is what Tony wants to do, some of those guys turned on me because of my success, past success. That's right. I said before in the beginning, I was a multi-champion at one point in my career. I held 3 belts, up to 3 belts at one point. No matter how bad the Federation was, no matter how good it was, I made it work at that time. But I think my history and my entire career has something to do with it.
Okay. Since we are 3 days away from Bloodshed, break down the card so far.
Bloodshed?
Sorry. Bad day to quit drinking. Gold Rush. How can I forget Gold Rush? It is our huge event of the year. All titles on the line. We have the Golden Opportunity coming up. We have every title on the line, like I just said. But let's break down a few of these matches. Right now, you have Clayton Keg against referee Adam. I mean, isn't this a little one-sided? I mean, you have a hardcore legend of CWA going against a ref who just got too big for his britches. Isn't this a little one-sided?
You know what? In my opinion, it's very one-sided. Clayton has been a wrestler. Adam, I don't think he knows how to wrestle, to be honest with you. I don't know what he was getting himself into or what he was thinking. Revenge, clearly his motive. I wish Adam luck, but I think Clayton Keg is really going to lay one on him.
All right. Now, there's your match, and I know how you feel about your match. You know, I'm voting for you to win. I hope you put Tony Taylor in his place. But let's move on to another match. You have the Golden Opportunity that Little T pretty much reinstated a couple weeks ago. What are your feelings? I mean, we know that we have Franklin Colt. We know that we have Aaron Stone. Help me out. Do we have anybody else right now?
How about Riley O'Doyle?
Riley O'Doyle? Who else would you want to see in this match?
Well, I'm thinking about it. You've got Matt Wild, too.
Matt Wild? He's overdue.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head or anybody else. But you know what? We've got guys for the Golden Opportunity. It's been one of the greatest events. Obviously, the Chi-Town Legend was last year's winner. Cashed it in at Eruption on Jeff Steeples. And he saved the CWA title and the whole CWA company itself from going kaput.
Right.
And you know what? I'm going to say something else here, off the subject. With these factions, it may be successful for a while, whatever, but ultimately, egos do collide, and it all falls apart.
Well, now, you have Jeff Steeples against Darren Stryker. Since you mentioned Jeff Steeples, let me jump the gun to the main event. Jeff Steeples against Darren Stryker. Now, Darren Stryker has proven that it doesn't matter how big you are, he can hit that final strike. And I got to figure, if he hits that final strike on Jeff Steeples anytime during the match, it's done. It's over. What are your predictions for that match?
But is it truly over? You see, Jeff Steeples has been screwed over by the capitalists. It's happened to him before, and he's not going to let it happen again. And that's at End of Days when both Buzz and Lethal joined the capitalists, which became defunct at Warfare. Now, since then, yeah, he has a right to be angry because he's been screwed. And you know what? Righting a wrong, putting himself in a title match at Gold Rush, and I think it's very fair. That's righting a wrong. He gets an opportunity to win that title, to win the CWA Championship, where it all started for him. Now, remember when Night Terror laid a beatdown on me?
Yes.
I brought him in to deal with Ezekiel Cranston's former, superstar, former freak show, or whatever you call it. Because it was Ezekiel Cranston that brought in Night Terror, but Night Terror wanted no more of him soon after that.
Oh, yeah, we saw what he did with Ezekiel Cranston.
Yeah.
So, since you touched on Night Terror, let me talk to you about the match Night Terror versus Greg Knight. Now, I gotta think that's that's going to be blood. There will be blood pretty much in that match, right? It is beyond personal with those two.
There's definitely hell to pay. Definitely.
I mean, you got Knight's hair. Greg Knight left for a while after him and Matt Wild lost the tag team titles to Redneck Connection. I'm going back on you now. I'm just hitting it back. But he disappeared for a while. And then this monster Blackbird made an appearance. While all along is Greg Knight in a mask, which he reveals himself at Maximum Carnage. And from Maximum Carnage till pretty much now, he has been pretty much, I guess, behind the scenes running things for Night Terror. Then a couple weeks ago, he decides he doesn't want to be behind the scenes anymore and takes out Night Terror. Night Terror is back with a vengeance. So now these two are pretty much, let's just face it, these two have a lot to put on the line on Gold Rush.
Oh, yes, definitely. You know what? It could be control over the entire entity itself. Is what it's going to be boiling down to.
Or the entity will implode, one of the two.
That's true. But you see, the reason Greg Knight decided to side with the entity is because of one thing: getting revenge on Matt Wild. But now that he's sided with the capitalists, he has gone too far. So, fortunately, that end is being dealt with, and I can focus on the capitalists. And when I do put Tony Taylor out of power, oh, I am going to give him the biggest shock of his life.
Wow, you sound pissed. I don't even want to know what you're going to do to Tony the Man Taylor when you get him in that ring, but I have a feeling it's going to be a beatdown because I've never seen Tony in the ring. I don't even think he can wrestle, personally, myself, which is a shame because up in the commentating booth, I like Tony the Man Taylor. He was a good guy, but something happened. He flipped the switch, and now he's running the capitalist, and I don't know. He's become a douche.
I'll give you enough. You know what? Let me go back to him being a mastermind of everything. He wants to start, change. But back in history, he did the exact same thing. He wanted to start a faction. He wanted to get a group of guys that, could just dominate that whole federation within that timeline. And this was 13 years ago. He's done it, and if you cross the line with him, he would either clothesline you or chokeslam you. And yes, back in the day, Tony Taylor could put up a fight. He could wrestle.
Oh, okay. I did not know that about Tony.
But that's back in the day. That's past. He ain't doing that anymore. Or so he thinks.
Well, because we're so close to Gold Rush, and you pretty much gave me your prediction of Gold Rush, I usually do a word association thing. I say about a current event or a person that's going on. You tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. But you pretty much just gave me your prediction on Gold Rush, so we really don't need to do the word association thing, which is interesting. It's the first time that we're not doing that. But also, with everything said and done, you pretty much got right to the point, RBK. You're the first person on my podcast to do that. So, unfortunately, folks, we're not going to the full 20 minutes here. We're about 14 minutes in. But, ladies and gentlemen, June 6th, Gold Rush. Be there, Dalton, Illinois. Check out the website for the address. Don't forget, Illinois will be playing after the event. RBK, thank you for coming. I'm Big Dan Dangerous. You have once again traveled into the danger zone. RBK, thanks for coming out, man.
I do have one more thing to say.
Uh-oh.
At Gold Rush, Taylor, you and each of those capitalists are gonna be, or should I say you will, fear the Jaguar.
Whoa. Big words from RBK, folks. Thanks. See you next time.